Hi, my name is Steve Sadler of Sadler Design, and I'm going to show you how to get started creating a website. What I first do is I write everything down on a piece of paper. I go back to the old method of pencil and paper, and I write down everything and keep it handy. And the stuff that I write down are site pages. You list all the pages to be created, like the index page, about HTML, contact HTML, all that stuff. Then I write down the site colors, list all the RGB values for the color scheme you're going to be using, and try to keep it to like 3 or 4. The simpler the better. Site navigation. Make note of how the pages will interact with each other. Poor site navigation is a killer. If someone can't find how to get where they want to go, they will just get up and leave your site. Site layout. Figure out what will be on your header, what will be on the footer, the navigation menu, special graphics and logos, font styles, and content. All the words that will fill up the site with important information. So that's what I'm going to go over, and the next thing to do is to get going in Illustrator. That's where I start. So let's get going. Okay, before I get into Illustrator, I'm going to go some file structure on you. And what I do is create a folder that the website's going to sit in. And the important things in it are the images folder, and I create a junk folder. And inside the junk folder are all the components of stuff that's not going to go up on the web. This is stuff that's big files, Photoshop documents, regular resolution, and the Illustrator file here is where I throw everything together and work out the layouts, work out the colors, all that stuff. And then once I do get it into Photoshop, here's my 2 files that I've taken out of Illustrator and made into Photoshop. I keep the Photoshop files, that way if I have to make changes later on, like adding something to the menu or changing the layout slightly, and I can use that document, the Photoshop document, then it's easier. I just open it up, move some layers around, fix some stuff, export it out as a web graphic, and I'm good to go. Okay, so that's our setup of our folders. Now let's get into Illustrator. Get that out of here. And in Illustrator, I'll start off with a document, and this little box right here on this edge is my document size. And it's 800 by 600 high pixels. I'm working in pixels because it'll be easier once I get it into Photoshop. You can work in inches or whatever, but 800 by 600 pixels is a good size to start with, because if you're too much smaller than that size, then it's pretty puny in a web browser window. But if you're too much bigger than that size, people with small monitors are going to have to scroll left and right just to see the whole size of the whole layout of this right here. They'd have to like scroll to get over to this stuff over on the right hand side because it'd be past their browser window. So try to stick to 800 by 600 as kind of like a good average size. And what I'll do is I'll work in layers so that it makes it handier once I get it into Photoshop. So we can see some layers here. And really the only thing that I've done in layers for this one, because it wasn't too complicated, was the rollovers. So I can click on that and we see my little rollover effect show up, and I click on it again, and then we'll see it disappear. That then, once I get into Photoshop, makes it easier to make all my little GIFs and JPEGs. And now let's get into Photoshop, which all I do is I will export the whole entire document as a Photoshop document with layers. Brings it all into Photoshop. So here's what it looks like once I got it into Photoshop. And you can see I've got my little slices here. This one here is highlighted. This one right up here. And then these are the rollover effects, and you can see I sliced it right in between these so that everything is nice and simple. And then when I sliced these, I tried to keep it right on the edges of them, and you can see that it starts right up here at the top with, this is slice 1, this long one next to it is slice 2, slice 3 is just going to be the logo. And so I tried to work it as, this is going to be one table, this will be another little table on below it, and then below the little thin gray table will be another one with these sections, because this is going to be like the area where it tells you if it's the about page, the portfolio page, whatever. And then this big area down here in number 16 slice, that will actually just be nothing. It will be the text. So I don't want an image for that because it's just white. Alright, and then what I do is I just save for web and take all those images, save them into the images folder that I created on the desktop. And then we get into Dreamweaver, and this is what it'll look like. Here's that slice from Sadler Design, and then here's all these other slices. And then once we get down into here, this one here I changed a little bit and I made this text. Because it used to not be text, it used to be a graphic, and I thought, okay, I need to get a little more text in here, because the more text you have, the better. Because search engines rely on text inside of your documents that coincide with the metadata to verify that, you know, this is really a site about Sadler Design, he's really working on web design, and all the keywords that I mentioned in my metadata are also reiterated down here somewhere, hopefully, if I worded it correctly. And that way it gets a higher ranking on search engines. At least it used to. Who knows now, you have to pay a lot, but then you get ahead on the website search engines. So in Dreamweaver, we put it all together, and then we go ahead and test the page, make sure all the links work. And so I'll go into, this is Safari, and you can see I've got my little header up here, and my links highlight, and the rollovers are working up there. And so you'll get this page to work the way it should, so that when it's all correct, the links are in there, all that stuff. I've got links down here, these are all assigned. And what I'll do is, since I don't have other pages, and this is the first page I started, the index page, I'll have to hand type in all of the links, and then any of the links that are going to external places too. And especially for these rollover items up here, I'll have to type in the links, because the only one that exists is the About page, which is my index. And that's why it's important when you start off on paper to write down all the page names. So I'd write About HTML, Portfolio HTML, Contact HTML, and then I know how it's spelled, and I know how I'm going to use the links, so I can just type them in when I need them. And then once all the links are working and you've got the layout pretty much the way you want it, then you just have to do a save as, and you would save it as portfolio.html inside of your directory, the folder that we created down on the desktop. And then you'd change the content you need to for that one, and then you would go back to the index page, or you could even go from the portfolio one if it's very similar, and save as for the context, save as for the tutorials. You just keep doing that, and that way you don't have to keep recreating all the tables and all that stuff. That's why I try to think ahead, both in Illustrator and in Photoshop, when I'm going to go do the slices, to how is this going to work for the whole layout of the whole website, not just this one page. Because you could make a page that's a totally different layout than another one, and that'd be really cool. Just know you're going to have to do a lot more work. Okay. So what we've gone over is write it all down on paper first, figure it out, and then fine-tune it and create the layout in Illustrator. Take the art and layout from Illustrator into Photoshop and create the slices, and then you save as the graphics, the GIFs, the JPEGs, and then you take all those and put them into the index page that you create for Dreamweaver, working with the links, and create all the pages from the website from the index page. So hopefully this has been kind of quick and brief, I know, but it's kind of a general idea of how you get going, where to start off with, and really there's just tons of possibilities, and everybody has a different way of doing it. But I just thought if somebody needed some help, maybe this might help them off on the right foot. So have fun and good luck.